Deputy Speaker, I rise to move the motion circulated in my name. As someone who both grew up in a family that relied on the income of a small family business and has owned and operated small businesses myself, I know exactly how rewarding and at the same time challenging this environment can be. Now then, as the member for North Sydney, I'm delighted to speak on behalf of the third largest business community in the country, and it's for this reason that I move this motion today. For if I cannot speak out against the politicisation of our tax system and the impact this is having on small to medium-sized businesses across our community, who will? At a time when these businesses should be protected and supported by our government systems, they are instead being drowned by red tape and dreading calls from the ATO as the tax office pursues modest debts from small operators, whilst large multinationals continue to report bumper profits with little attention. 2023 was a tough year for our usually resilient small business community, with the Australian Securities and Investments Commission identifying that rising business costs were a key contributing factor to small business annual insolvencies. As we entered 2024, Credit Watch predicted the business failure rate in Australia would increase from 4.4% to almost 6% by the end of the year. At the time, the Council of Small Business Organisations Australia CEO, Luke Arctistrat, warned small businesses would need to prioritise cash flow management as higher costs are undoubtedly set to continue throughout the year, and cost of living pressures would make it difficult for small businesses to pass additional costs on to customers. He also argued it would be critical for banks, business partners and regulators to support small businesses wherever possible. Yet 2 months into the year, my office was inundated with calls from accountants and small business operators who suddenly found themselves under the direct scrutiny of the ATO. Then just last week, as we waited to hear what the Australian Small Business and Family Enterprise Ombudsman, Bill Bilson, would suggest our government prioritise to support small to medium-sized businesses, many were dismayed to read that the number of administrators being appointed to struggling businesses had grown at an astonishing rate. Not surprisingly, it was businesses in New South Wales and Victoria who were at the greatest risk of being forced under. But gallingly, the report identified that the ATO is playing an active role and a significant role in driving businesses to the wall as it goes into overdrive collecting debts, particularly from small businesses. While I was not surprised by the finding, I was relieved to see it was finally being identified as an issue. We know small business owners are currently paying themselves less and working longer than average to support their enterprises. And the modest initiatives the government had identified to try and help, like the instant asset write-off and the energy rebate, came far too slowly to make any meaningful difference to them. Yet large multinational businesses, including supermarkets and companies in the mining and energy sectors, seem to get away with modest tax payments relative to their profits, while small businesses face lightning-fast calls from the ATO for payment of small debts and threats of insolvency. Interestingly, the recommendations of the Ombudsman on Thursday included, among other things, an ambitious plan for tax concessions. But disappointingly, while he identified the upside of reform, he stopped short in criticising the way in which tax reform in this country is currently pursued. For what it's worth, I agree with the Ombudsman that better access to government contracts and savings from cheaper payment systems for the sector will be welcomed. But these things will not fundamentally reset an environment that has become dominated by increasingly complex red tape. Last week, then, the Reserve Bank further downgraded its expectations for our economy, reporting it has grown by just 0.9% in 12 months to the end of June. At the same time, a corporate insolvency measure compiled by Insolvency Australia showed many businesses are struggling to deal with the drop-off in economic activity and the increase in overall costs. Businesses in New South Wales account for over half of all insolvency appointments in the last 12 months, and the reporting identified that small and family businesses are being hit particularly hard. While the nation's Small Business Ombudsman warns that without ambitious and targeted reform, we could, as a nation, be sleepwalking into a big corporate economy, we are yet to see this government show any intention to push for far-reaching tax reform. Indeed, if the actions of the ATO are anything to go by, it seems the appetite is simply not there. Deputy Speaker, as someone who fundamentally believes small family businesses are the engine room of our economy, I believe it's time this nation had a government that looked beyond the politicisation of tax policy and supported and incentivised small family businesses whilst ensuring our nation stops relying on income generated off the back of individual workers. Thank you.